Interview 47. The room was buried beneath concrete, no windows, no clocks. No sound except the low hum of fluorescent lights that flickered every few minutes. The prison called it Interview Room C. The inmates called it the freezer. Not because it was cold, because people walked in with confidence and walked out pale. Tonight, only two people sat inside. On one side of the steel table sat FBI profiler Dr. Evelyn Hart. Across from her sat inmate #44721. The newspapers had called him many things over the years. The highway butcher, the night walker, the collector. None of the names bothered him. His real name was Daniel Mercer, age 58. Serving 14 consecutive life sentences, convicted murderer. Suspected of far more. For 20 years he had disappeared into towns across the country, leaving broken families and unsolved cases behind. Then one mistake ended everything, one tiny mistake, a fingerprint. A partial shoe print. A witness who survived. 20 years of terror collapsed in less than a week. Now he sat in prison wearing gray clothes and ankle chains, smiling. Not because he was happy, because he enjoyed being remembered. The recorder clicked on. A red light appeared. Daniel leaned back ready. Doctor. Dr. Hart opened her notebook. I'd like to talk about your first victim. Daniel laughed softly. No, why not? Because everyone always wants the first one. His eyes drifted toward the ceiling. The first one wasn't important. What was important? The moment I realized I wasn't going to stop. The room became quiet. Dr. Hart waited. Daniel liked silence. He used it the way normal people used words. Finally, he spoke. You know what's funny? No. People think monsters are born monsters. He grinned. They imagine glowing red eyes. Violent childhoods, dead animals. He shook his head. I had a job. Silence. A house. Silence. Neighbors who waved. Silence. People trusted me. The smile widened. That was the best part. Dr. Hart kept writing. Daniel watched her pen move. You aren't scared. I'm listening. You should be scared. Why? Daniel leaned forward. The chain scraped against the floor. Because if I hadn't been caught, I'd still be out there. For the first time, the smile disappeared. Not because he regretted it, because he meant it completely. A chill passed through the room. Even the lights seemed dimmer. Dr. Hart turned the page. You operated for 20 years, 21. I kept count. Why? Daniel stared at her. Because they mattered. The answer hung in the air. Not because it was emotional. Because it sounded sincere. Like he was talking about friends, family, people he cared about. Dr. Hart changed the subject. Tell me about your routine. Daniel laughed. Routine before an attack. His expression brightened. Like a man discussing a favorite hobby. I'd drive. Where? Anywhere. He shrugged. Small towns mostly. Why small towns? People notice strangers in cities. He tapped the table. In small towns, they notice strangers for one day. He tapped again. Then they get used to them. Tap, tap, tap. That's when bad things happen. Dr. Hart glanced at his fingers. Daniel noticed. He stopped tapping. A smile crept across his face. Still listening. Yes, good. He leaned back. Most people think hunting is exciting. Hunting, finding victims. The word made the room colder. Daniel continued. It wasn't exciting. What was it? Boring. He laughed. Hours and hours of waiting. The smile vanished. But eventually, his eyes darkened. You find someone who believes the world is safe. Dr. Hart looked up. Daniel was staring directly at her. And that's when the world changes. A fluorescent light flickered overhead. For a brief second the room went dark, then bright again. Daniel smiled. Funny, what the dark? His voice dropped. Most people think darkness is scary. He tilted his head. It isn't. No, no. His eyes became distant. The scary part is realizing you aren't alone in it. The recorder continued spinning. Dr. Hart noticed something strange. Daniel had never once asked about his victims, not their names, not their families, not their lives, only himself, only the hunt, only the feeling. Hours passed. The interview continued, stories emerged, not graphic, not detailed, just enough. Enough to reveal something horrible. Daniel didn't enjoy violence. That wasn't the frightening part. He enjoyed control. The knowledge that entire towns changed because of him. Parents locking doors. Children staying indoors. Police searching empty roads at night. He smiled when he talked about fear spreading. Like a man remembering a successful business. Then Dr. Hart asked a question. The smile disappeared immediately. What was your biggest mistake? The room fell silent. For nearly 30 seconds. Daniel stared at the table, his jaw tightened. The first sign of anger all night. Finally he answered. I got comfortable. Explain. I started believing I couldn't be caught. His voice had become flat, emotionless. I broke my own rules. What rule never returned? Dr. Hart nodded. You returned, yes. Why? Daniel looked away. The answer seemed to bother him, not morally, personally. Like discussing an embarrassing failure. I wanted to see what? If people still remembered. The profiler stopped writing. Daniel continued. They did. A bitter laugh escaped him. Turns out fear lasts longer than I thought. The room grew quiet again. Then Dr. Hart asked the final question. The question she had saved for the end. Do you feel remorse? Daniel stared at her 1 second, 5 seconds, 10. Then he began laughing, not loudly, not wildly, just a slow laugh. The kind that sounded wrong. The kind that didn't belong in a human throat. When he finally stopped, tears sat in the corners of his eyes. You spent 4 hours with me, yes. And that's your question. Dr. Hart didn't answer. Daniel leaned forward, the chains rattled. His face moved closer, 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 until only the steel table separated them. Then he whispered, no. The word barely escaped his lips, but somehow it felt louder than anything he'd said all night. The interview ended minutes later. Guards arrived. Daniel stood. The chains clinked. He reached the door, then paused. Slowly, he turned back toward Dr. Hart. One final smile appeared. Doctor, she looked up. Yes. Daniel's eyes gleamed beneath the fluorescent lights. The prison turns off the hallway lights at midnight. A long pause, then, I know. Daniel smiled wider. No. His voice became almost a whisper. You don't understand. The guards pulled him away. The door slammed shut. The sound echoed through the concrete corridors. Interview over. Years later, Dr. Hart would admit something she never placed in her official report. Something she never told another agent. Something that still woke her at night. As Daniel was dragged from the room, he wasn't looking at the guards. He wasn't looking at the door. He wasn't looking at her. He was staring into the dark corner behind her, smiling, as though someone else had been standing there the entire time, watching, listening, waiting.